Another tale, another reading of true, scary stories. Tonight we listen to two creepy stories of young women, two teenagers, and their scary encounters with older men. The first creepy tale is about a man who doesn't want to leave the author alone. And the second story, a woman whose date led to a scar that will last a lifetime beyond just her memories. My best friend and I were thrift shopping one summer day. We were both 17 years old at the time. We were looking at the racks when we were approached by this man who looked to be somewhere between 35 and 40. He had very long, curly hair with a receding hairline and was wearing a black trench coat with black pants that were tucked into his combat boots. I specifically remember this because he always wore almost the same thing with a different gothy or anime t-shirt under the trench coat. He asked if we would like to go out for coffee with him, but we said no thanks. Instead, we tried to get back to doing our shopping. I ended up getting separated from my friend when she was trying on clothes. At this point, we thought he was gone, when suddenly I was tapped on the shoulder. I then hear him say, "Here's my number if you change your mind," as he handed me a piece of paper with a phone number and his first name written on it. I was a bit creeped out, but took it so he'd just go away, which thankfully he did. The next day, I was online checking my MySpace. Yeah, I know, I'm old. And I had a message from, you can guess who, the guy from the thrift store. I never gave him my name, so all I can think is that he heard my friend call me by my first name, and he searched every girl in my area by my name. He started sending me private messages saying creepy things like, "You and me in the bedroom. Would it be kinky or romantic?" I was really freaked out and ignored him, and eventually blocked him. At the time, I worked at the local mall in an entertainment store which sold movies, CDs, etc. One day, while I was at work, I looked up and there he was, staring at me from the section right from the register I was working at. When he saw that I noticed him, he left. This happened several more times. Then, one time, on my break, I walked by a gaming store that was right down the hall. And there he was, right behind the counter. He was now employed there. I was in that store a lot, and I knew the people that worked there, so I knew he had just gotten the job there recently. He then started coming in almost every day and staring at me, until one day, I told my manager what was going on, and she immediately went up to him and told him that if he didn't leave, she'd call the cops, and that we have cameras that point right at the section where he always was. He left, but after that, I never went to my car alone after finishing a shift. Finally, I noticed he had left his job at the gaming store. I saw him once more after that, which was at the local Walmart, where he told me that he had gotten some special edition of Bram Stoker's Dracula and asked if I wanted to come to his mom's house and watch it with him. He told me that I looked so cute. I said that I was with my parents, which of course was a lie, and that I had to go. And I hurried away as fast as I could. I still get nervous that I'll run into him again. even now. Back when I was 15, I was in a really bad mental headspace. I was depressed, lonely, and desperate for someone's attention. So, against better judgment, I made an account on Plenty of Fish. For those of you who might not know, Plenty of Fish is a dating app, a service where you try to find people to hook up with. I understood that I had put myself into a dangerous position because of the potential predators that lurk among the internet services that lead to real-world encounters. But I also understood that any man who I told my age to should have just reported my account and not even spoken to me. After swiping left and right for about an hour to see which profiles might interest me, I met a man that I will call Red. Now, Red was 26. He was a father of 2 beautiful toddlers and was a Puerto Rican native who had just recently moved to Florida. He spoke a fair bit of English and had this charm to him when he spoke. It's scary now to think about just how okay he was with me, even after telling him my age. Again, I was 15. He simply told me that we wouldn't do anything against the law, and that our interactions would be innocent. We ended up talking back and forth for a few months before even talking about meeting up. When I talked to Red, I felt happy, whole, like I finally had someone. The first few times we met up, everything was fine. We went to the outlets, Disney Springs, and the movies. He was a perfect gentleman. He held my hand, opened doors for me, kept his hands off of me. We kissed a bit, but nothing too intense. About 6 months into our relationship, I turned 16, and I invited him to my house. This was through means of sneaking through my window, of course, and he agreed. We were just hanging out, watching a movie, when suddenly, he kissed me in a way he never had before, in a way I'd never been kissed before. It was surprising, and without having to be said, overwhelming. I got scared. It finally hit me that this was a full-grown man, and I was a child. I got off my bed and told him he had to leave. His face contorted into anger, and he stepped towards me, trying to convince me through gritted teeth not to make him leave. He reached out to grab my shoulders, and out of instinct, I shoved his chest to make him back off, only for a harsh shove to be returned. A sharp, hot pain suddenly overwhelmed me, spreading from the back of my head and ran down the rest of my body. Then, everything went black. The next thing I knew, I was hearing a blood-curdling scream, while hazed out and being too weak to fully open my eyes. I just barely made out the sight of my mom. I felt wetness on my head, and my body felt so cold now. It was just as I was gathering that something was wrong that I lost consciousness once again. The following time that I woke up in a hospital bed. My head was pounding and aching in the back. I reached up hazily to feel where the pain was coming from, and my fingertips grazed a row of staples on a now bald patch on the back left of my head. I instantly winced. From that point on, time appeared to speed by very fast. A doctor and my mother and father were explaining that I must have slipped and hit my head on the windowsill, since that's where the first impact was made, before falling the rest of the way onto my tile floor. They explained that my mom came into my room to wake me up for school, and she found me laying in a pool of my own blood. She didn't think I was alive because my breathing was so faint. The thing is, they had no idea as to why I slipped. And I was too embarrassed and ashamed of myself to tell anyone. I didn't think that I deserved justice for what Red did to me. Later on, I found out the obstacles I'd have to deal with that were caused by the injury. There was hearing loss in my right ear, as well as the inability to retain old memories. This event and a few flash memories of my childhood are the last things that I remember from before the incident. Though I was saddened by this, I was happy to be alive and to never see Red again. A few months ago, now being 18, I signed back up for Plenty of Fish again. I kept my wariness this time though, and didn't go on any dates. I looked out for warning signs, and upon even the first one, would block just about everyone. Then one day, I received another message. It was from Red. I had blocked him on every other platform, including blocking his number. It said, "Hey, how have you been?" I didn't respond back, but I did take a look at his profile. It still said 26 years old. Odd. So perhaps I didn't really ever know his real age. Perhaps I didn't even know this man at all. Being that he thought that he must have taken my life and selfishly ran off without even attempting to see if I was still alive. So, Red, you can keep your charm. All I ask is that we never meet again. Additional comments from this story's author. I've seen all of the comments of people suggesting and demanding that I go to the police. I've already taken action on this a few months ago. I didn't include it in the original story because honestly, I felt like a fool. I went to the police by myself after seeing him again on Plenty of Fish, and they had no records for anyone with his name or age. I gave a description, but it was just a basic description, a general Hispanic male. They couldn't take any action on it. I had no pictures with him, and his profile pictures all had his face somehow covered. The first time I ever really saw his face was when we started Snapchatting. He did have an Instagram, but it's now been deleted. I even tried to tell them the names of his 2 toddlers, but they couldn't find anything with that either.